Thank you so much and welcome to this study or presentation. We are so delighted to be here and I'm so delighted to see you. My name is Morten Edvardsen and I am an associate professor from the University of Norway in the northern part of Norway. And I am here together with my colleague and we are both representing academic way of seeing school and education and leadership and the use of the laws that are framing the education, both in kindergartens and in primary schools and upper secondary schools. So that will be a part of what we are going to talk about.
And my name is Atle, Kristensen, and I'm a professor in pedagogy at the same university as Morten. So as you can see here in the picture, we are located above the Arctic Circle in the town called So we have traveled a distance of about 2,620 kilometers down here, this wonderful city, Florence. We are very excited to be here. This is actually our third time here in Florence. So, this presentation is about how we explore legal risks in school and early childhood leadership. Our main point is that legal risk is not only a legal or an administrative matter. It is deeply connected to everyday leadership and pedagogy and relational trust. So our research question is this: how do school and ECE leaders handle legal risk when law, pedagogy, and relational must be balanced at the same time? It's a bit challenging task to do for any leader in the childhood kindergarten or school. So we are interested in how do leaders describe these situations from within practice. It's not an abstract legal problem, but it's a complex leadership dilemma. And this study is based on written evaluations from 92 school and ECE leaders in continuing education. The material gives us access to leaders' own descriptions and reflections. We analyze the text thematically, looking for patterns across cases and contexts. And the findings, they show, therefore, that they are therefore to be understood as self-reported leadership experiences, not as observations of practice. And our analysis builds on three theoretical lenses. First, legal risk is practice need. It arises when rules must be interpreted in everyday situations. Second, employment law is a part of pedagogy because staff-related decisions directly affect children, pupils, and the quality of provision. Third, relational leadership matters because trust, ethics, and dialogue influence how legal decisions become legitimate in practice. So, legal risk is not about rules alone. A central argument is that rules do not apply themselves. More regulations does not necessarily remove discretion. It may actually create new spaces where leaders must interpret, prioritize, and decide. This is especially visible in welfare organizations, where law, professional judgment, and human relations are closely connected. So, what do leaders actually do?
Well, thank you, Atle. What do leaders actually do? We think of the law as something that is framing the room you have for action as a leader. how you can take care of the staff and how you can also provide the students with the rights, the children with the rights for teaching of a certain quality and standard. And you also have to cooperate with the parents, etc. That is, in a way, a risky minefield because you have to translate these for your staff and you have to train them, and they are exposed also for a lot of demands from the parents, from the different variety of pupils, as we talked about also in the two different or earlier presentations. We also looked about how difficult and complex it might be a teacher. And all these various teachers and the various complex challenges is something that is a responsibility for a school leader, both in kindergarten and in the early primary education as well. And what we see that these rights for the staff may sometimes cross with their pupils' rights. So what do we do when we have this dilemma that we are going to deliver excellent teaching, but the teacher is on sick leave and we have to have a substitute teacher? How do we ensure that we can have, and how can we guarantee that the standard of teaching is still good and that they know how to evacuate the school with an important thing? How can they stop, for example, bullying, etc., etc.? So we see that this influences the way you have to lead the staff. It is a kind of pedagogy, and it is also, as Atle mentioned a little bit about your legal competence. You have to know the intentions of the law. What were the intentions? We have a lot of good intentions, but often we see that the leaders forget these intentions when they are interpreting the laws, because we have low, decreasing budgets, finances, and maybe increasing bullying in schools, as we can see. So there are some issues here to be measured in a way. So how do we scale this, and how do we make a balance between the legal questions and the pedagogy, so that this fit for the children, that both the pedagogy and the legislation is meant for? So that is the way what we see here. Legal competence, we can see that it leads to clearer communication and fairer processes. The leaders that we see master the skills of legacy, they also can do a better leadership, and they can provide understanding for the staff and also for the children and for the parents about what is this and what are you to expect from this, both in about the teacher and the safety, and also about the teachers' environments, the staff's environments as well, because they should also be safe and secure at work, which we know now is it's increasing, that a lot of teachers do not feel safe at work. But that is the headmasters and the school leaders' role to secure them, see to that we have a safe and fit environment. And there also is a lot of what we see also is that there is a lot of decisions that you make. As a matter of fact, every decision that the leader makes is a legal action, so to speak, because you have a legal window there, and you can cross this frame or this window, and then you'll be either in trouble with a lawyer, for example, or a union, or parents associations, or parents, so to speak. So you have to balance these and find a way, and therefore we see that this is like what we have called here the three-way relationship is important, and it is a relationship with relations. So we have the employment law for the staff and pedagogy and relational pressure that will converge and merge, so to speak. So we see that these are, we could have had rivers instead of ropes here, because they are going back and forth. If you have good communications, good relations, good information, good actions back and forth, you will see that you will succeed better with the leadership, and you can also enlighten what the law is, and why did I do like this? What is this decision built on? How it is funded? I have read the law and I have seen it like this, therefore we have to, and so on. So that is a major step, an important thing to make these as a team and not as different actors pulling the ropes in different directions. And the leaders also, they must hold case together when part pull in these directions. Then you have to see to it so that they meet and they can collaborate and they can, in a way, speak out the matters and find it in the frame, the window of the law, in the curriculum syllabus, for example, or in the employment law. Yeah. So what we think in this study shows us that handling is an ongoing leadership process, and it is not a one-time decision, because in education we see that every decision has impact on different levels and different kinds of staff, on children, and we also see that have variables that impact these decisions. You can it can be for the 1st to 4th graders, and we can see that it is for the 5th to 7th graders in Norway, for example. You can meet a different group and different understandings of your actions and how you provide these teaching in the world of leadership. Yeah. What is more and more important is the children's voice. How do we secure that we have the children's voice? And it is easy for a leader to say that you have given information and you have, in a way, made systems in the schools so that you have the board of pupils, they can have an impact. But do we really listen to them? How do you, as a leader, secure that the voice are listened to and that we also have considered what they said and taken action from what they have said? Because very often I think that we have a democratic system that is likely to function very well, but do we really listen and do we really take actions and advice from us in the processes? And I think that will be more and more important, and it will be even more important with the serious cases we have with bullying and exclusion. And we have these terrible stories 20 years after they left schools. We can see the crime statistics, those we didn't succeed with. We find them there. So I think it is very, very important, as we find in this study, that it is a leader's task to make these rooms and also to make this happen, so that you can have the children's voice as a clear advice and a partner before you do the decisions, not after. Before you do, make a good space in the systems that we can provide them with this. And I think also that will be student engagement will increase, that they can have impact and they can be even more engaged in the learning. So there is much benefits out of this. And the right to participate depends on all these relational conditions. And if you don't feel comfortable speaking with the teacher or your parents or the school leader, it will be worth nothing. So that we also found as a discovery. So it's a very important task for the leaders to try and provide this. In many cases also we can see that parents' voice is the strongest, and the opinion of the parents is the one who will be major. But what about the child? How do we secure that? We have the right when they are 15, it's easier. They can maybe speak up, but a lot of meetings with the school and school boards, we can see that they sit there and the parents talk. And the parents tell us what the child had said at home. Yes, thank you. Very good. So let's go to parents. What? To parents. Yeah. So we see this, we have called it a legal risk. It is a risk that you miss this good relation and the support and the cooperation. We can see it if you are not good with relations in this system. So you have to be, you have to plan, and you have to also take their advice when you do these decisions. So therefore we see that is one part, and we also see the employment law as the next thing. So you are then.
Yes, thank you, Morten. Children and parents are important here, and it is a risk if we don't listen to them. But in our material, we find that employment law is the largest area of risk in the material, because sick leave, accommodation, and poor performance and dismissal are especially demanding for leaders. Describe how much time is spent on substitutes, scheduling, and follow-up. And these are legal risks, but they are also organizational and pedagogical tasks. So you have to also consider the pedagogical environment here when you are in this legal battle. So this trust-based leadership has become a legal resource. Procedures are necessary. They are very important, but they are not sufficient. Leaders also need openness. They need ethical awareness. And they also need dialogue between children, parents, staff, and so on. So trust helps the organization handle disagreement and difficulties. Decisions without weakening and the professional community. So they have to be involved altogether. This is very important for us. In these findings, they're very clear. So to wrap it up, I think we have to say something about across the material. What are the three cross-cutting dimensions?
Well, we see that the increasing need for documentation is a threat, so to speak, because it will be a regime, so to speak. So, but also it is essential for the legal protection, because if we have not documented what we have done, we have nothing. Yeah. So that is also a lot of cases in the schools are built under incomplete information, and we see we are very weak when we meet in court or when we are examined because of that. So our legal knowledge is very important. And the next is the time pressures, because we see when there is bullying or fighting in schools, as a very easy example, we have to be in action, and the reflection has to be done very fast. So we can see that, and therefore we all sometimes make the decision in action, and that is not so good, because that is also what do I say? It's a threat for the quality, and that we can miss something because we have not every information provided yet, because we have to go back and examine, and then we can do a better documentation and build up the case, so to speak, to see. The intention is to see that the children and the staff have a safe and secure and high standard quality of the teaching and the environment. We have to go back to the things that's there. And we also see the relational risk as a major point, because we know that, okay, when we are in vulnerable situations, both as parents, children, we do like this. Yeah, so that is also a thing that we see. So the key conclusions I will wrap up with here is that we can see that the intersection of law, organization, and relationships, that is one thing that we see. And we can also see that handling the risk is everyday leadership, so to speak. You do it all the time, and you have to be aware of that as a leader. That is some of the 92 objects told us very, very clearly. And also that we see that we hope that as a part of this, because there is not so much research on this field, how leaders are exposed to these cross fields. So we hope that it will be a further examination of this, so that we can get more knowledge, what to do, and what works not. How can we cross some barriers about the leadership and the relations with the staff and the parents and the children? So this can be a good mix, and we can fulfill the law, so to speak. So I think that is legal risk is not a legal problem. It is a leadership challenge that we have to be on board at all times. So thank you very much for listening to us, for your patience. if you have any